What's going on, all you vampire enthusiasts out there? Your two favorite bloodsuckers are back tonight again, and we're here to review a Netflix movie. Well, it's not really a Netflix movie, but a movie that is streaming on Netflix. You could say it's one that has been nominated for an Academy Award. It didn't end up winning the Academy Award for cinematography, but we could definitely see why it was nominated. It's a beautiful looking film. It is called El Conde.
¿Alguien se metió en su maleta? Trajo estacas y martillos de plata. Si nos matamos nosotros, vos vais a matar a 4 vampiros.
That's right. These two wild bloodsuckers love a good vampire movie, and this guy over here actually recommended this movie. It's on Netflix. El Conde, as you said, up for an Oscar for best cinematography. It lost to Oppenheimer, but yes, this is a beautiful looking film. The way everything looked, it's in black and white. It basically focuses on a vampire. He's 250 years old. He was around since the French Revolution. Like flying around Europe. He becomes obsessed with Marie Antoinette and takes her body, and it sets up the rest of the movie. It's really interesting the way they go about that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see where he was at during the history. His the people he killed ended up, turning into vampires, and he's been around for, hundreds of years, much like Uncle Steve. So it's this bloodsucker that's been around taking life, and he's an older man now. He's, nearing the end of a normal, elderly person's life. And he's, got his family. His family are all coming, and they're wanting to inherit all the money that he's going to leave behind. He's he's done all this crazy stuff over his life. He's, overthrew governments. He's becoming this, a big dictator, and he wants to be addressed as the count by his family. But authorities have and eventually come around, and they start investigating where he got all his money from. And that's where the movie sort of goes from it, from his family becoming involved and from the investigation. And you kind of learn about his whole history, going from that and all the 250 years of existence. And this is towards the end of his life. He loses the lust for life, and he doesn't want to live anymore. And that's when we meet a lot of his family, including his wife, Lucia. And then he also has a butler. And, it's a great cast too. It's a great supporting cast. And it really is about this guy's life and what's happening towards, the end of his life when he doesn't want to be there anymore after these 250 years.
What really sells the movie is obviously the vampire himself, but the family, like the dynamic and the money hungry kids, trying to go after dad's millions and trying to figure out where that's at. And, the dad being the vampire on his last leg and not really caring anymore, starving himself. And he's just like, whatever. I've seen him and accomplish everything I've wanted to in life in 250 years. Like, could you imagine all the stuff you can learn to be a lawyer, a doctor, all these different occupations, travel the world, whatever, just he's seen a lot. And he's finally saying goodbye, and you see how everything will crumble with his family.
Everything crumbles around him. He's, gained all the knowledge he could possibly gain over these 250 years. He's been with all the women that he's want to, be with, and he doesn't really have anything left to live for. But his kids, that he's had along the way, they all want to spend all the money and all the wealth like any other family would. They're seeing their dad here towards the end of his life. He has millions of dollars. They could literally, not have to work the rest of their lives. And you kind of see their true colors when it's coming towards the end here. And then, of course, there's bickering and fighting between the siblings and between the various lovers that he's had. Eventually we have a character come in here, a nun, and she's kind of on to him. And eventually they sort of have a little relationship that's pretty interesting. And it goes to some, places I wasn't expecting throughout the movie. And with this younger character, this nun, who eventually he, turns into a vampire.
A few things that stood out to me in this film is really the scenes of the flying. I thought the looked super realistic. I don't know if they're on strings like movies back in the day, like Fright Night or whatever we're talking about, old movies, but it looked really realistic, and I love the way that it was shot. Like the little countryside and the houses and everything, and this old vampire flying in the air. It's really cool. And really dive into the lore of the vampire itself, which I absolutely loved. And I love this character. And the directing was really well done. Pablo Larraín, I thought was really great director in this. Really had a great vision for this, and it's a really good looking movie, and it makes you involved and makes you love the cast and what they're going through and what's going to happen to this old man.
This was a very unique vampire film, something that you haven't seen before. The way that he shot this film and the story and everything, very unique and interesting. And the cinematography is, gorgeous. It looks great. It's shot in black and white, which really goes with the story of this vampire. It's living in the shadows. But like you mentioned, yeah, the way that they flew, it looked awesome when they're way up in the air there. It did. I think that they were probably on strings because that's the way it looked. You can't see the strings, of course, but it looks like they're actually flying, unlike a CGI movie or something. It looks practical, and it lends believability to it all when the El Conde's flying, as well as the nun when she gets turned. It looks really cool at the end, especially when she flies out of that like skylight.
Yeah.
When she's trying to get away from him, and she just flies out the top. It's really cool. But yeah, and then there is some gore in this movie too, which is cool. There's dealing with El Conde himself, and then the butler, and you see like hearts going into blenders and him trying to be revitalized by the blood, and still trying to get a little energy from all these body parts and hearts that he's kept all these years later. And he has Marie Antoinette's head in a jar. There's some pretty cool scenes in this involving that, but it's not really a movie about, the gore aspect of it. It really takes a different approach here. And it's a movie that's very interesting and definitely worth a watch. And something that I could definitely see being nominated, and understand why now after having watched it. It's a gorgeous film.
This is a surprise for me. I wish I didn't snooze on this. I wish I would have watched this before the Oscars, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Yeah, all around really great movie. It's streaming on Netflix currently. Love the directing, cinematography, obviously the cast, effects, costume design, production design, everything looked great. Yeah, it's a movie I definitely rewatch, a very unique vampire flick, and we both highly recommend it. So with that being said, I'm going to give El Conde the count. I'm going to give it the count of 4 out of 5 vampire hair pieces.
We didn't even mention that it's a foreign language. It's all a foreign language film, subtitles, but I never really noticed, I didn't have any problem with it. It lends to the believability and the authentic nature of the movie. It wasn't a problem for me. We love this movie. We thought it was great. Happy that I got nominated. Look forward to seeing more from the, people involved, from the actors, filmmaker, director, cinematographer. There's a lot of promise in this film, and a very unique vampire film, to say the least. So with that being said, I'm going to give El Conde a 4 out of 5 Chris Sarandon hair pieces.
When I'm thinking about it, I didn't even notice it was a foreign film until about 30 minutes in. Like the voiceovers with them moving their mouths, it was like pretty spot on. Like they're pretty close. I didn't even like notice that. Like I was so wrapped up in the movie. So that was pretty phenomenal compared to like -1 or something where they're moving their mouths and it's not matching up with the words. So we're interested from hearing from all you wild bloodsuckers out there. What did you like about El Conde? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite vampire flick? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Also check out these wild ghouls on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news and reviews.
Well, we're getting a little thirsty for some fresh blood. So until the next Cinephellas movie review, I'm Uncle Henry Hill.
And I'm Uncle Kiefer Sutherland, signing out until the next movie review. Cheers!